Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video. In today's video, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking a look at what I have heard many people call the best movie of 2021, and that is Licorice Pizza. So Licorice Pizza is a movie that one of my friends invited me to go watch the other day, and I knew nothing about it going in, to be honest. I try to follow movie trailers and stuff like that, but a lot of the time, if it's not extremely mainstream, I don't end up watching it. Even some of the mainstream stuff I don't end up watching. But yeah, I hadn't heard about this movie at all. So what do you do when you don't hear about a movie and you're going to go see it? You obviously search it up. And it intrigued me right away when I saw the reviews of this movie because, while I didn't read any of the reviews, I saw critics were giving it I think it was 90% Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb gave it close to a 9. Same with Metacritic. It was getting really good reviews. And then the audience score was a 3.1 out of 5, which I'm okay, so it's a solid to meh movie. And then you look at the actual audience scores and it's all 1 stars or all 5 stars. So when there's that giant of a divide between the audience of a film, I'm super excited going into it because I was okay, what type of movie has that big of a divide? Probably something that's more art house than mainstream. And I'm the type of person that will usually side with I like art house stuff when some people try not to like it. And so I went into this film not really knowing anything about it, but really excited to see what it would be like. And after watching this film, I can say that I don't think it was the best film of 2021. 2 of my friends that went to go see it with me said it was between this and Dune. It was maybe this beating out Dune for their favorite movie of the year. For me, it wasn't that. Don't get me wrong, this was a really good movie. I think it is fantastically made. I really like the characters. I think the cinematography is amazing. The color palette and just the look of the film is really 70s-esque, and it perfectly captures that 70s style. It's obviously set in the 70s, so that was very well done and obviously intentional. The look of this film is fantastic. The thing that holds it back, in my opinion, is the story. The basic premise of this film is there's a 15-year-old guy named Gary, and there's a 25-year-old girl named Alana. And Gary is into Alana, so he's trying to win her over and start a relationship with her. And they kind of have this relationship where it's a will they, won't they, and they're kind of taking turns being into the person, but also not being into the person. It's I'm going to show off to this person, I'm going to try and outdo them. That's basically what happens throughout this entire film. So that's the major plot premise. But in order to get from the start of the film to the end of the film, there's just a whole bunch of disconjointed scenes to kind of very, very loosely tie them all together. For example, the movie starts off with Gary being an actor, and then all of a sudden he's a businessman, and I think they did establish that he was a businessman, but he's just completely out of acting now. Now he's into waterbeds, and then there's this gas crisis, and then Alana becomes a politician, and then Gary becomes a pinball salesman, and it's just what the heck is going on? There's just so many disconjointed plots going on. None of them really serve a purpose aside getting us from the start of the relationship to the end of the relationship. And some people may like that, but in terms of the type of movies that I prefer a tight narrative. So all these subplots that have no real significance and take up a large portion of the movie's runtime, not something that I entirely love. Some of these subplots and some of these subplot scenes, I will admit, were pretty funny. There's one set of scenes with Bradley Cooper. I thought his character was hilarious. There's this one scene where this drunk guy starts riding a motorcycle. That's also hilarious. There's a lot of hilarious scenes. The comedy works very well in this movie. Alana's a really funny character as well throughout the entire film. But just in general, a scene's purpose can't just be it's funny and it loosely follows the overall plot. I prefer scenes to have several different reasons for occurring. I prefer, like I said, a very tightly scripted film, which this was not, unfortunately. My friends that I was watching it with did like this aspect of the film, and it is fun. I will admit there's some really fun scenes in there. It's just, in terms of what I like to see out of a film, this is not what I like to see, and so that's why, while they're going on about this is probably the best film of the year, I'm taking a more modest approach of this film is really good. It's a really interesting, well-made film. It's just not the best film in terms of the script and in terms of entertainment, in my personal opinion. The other thing I didn't really like about this film is there are some very, very complex character motivations and character thought processes that just go completely over my head. Like, usually I can pick up the implied stuff going on with characters because I critically think quite well, I would say, in movies, but the characters were so deep in this that I had no idea what they were thinking half the time. And that's props to the writers for creating very deep characters, but that just took away from my experience of the film, because I'm like, am I dumb? Is this obvious? Should I know why Alana suddenly doesn't want to work with Gary and why she's becoming a politician? Like, I don't know. It's just, there were moments, several moments in there where either Gary would do something or Alana would do something, and I'm like, why are they doing this? And I didn't know why they were doing it. And this is probably just me, like, I won't hold this too against the film. Maybe I'm just dumb. Maybe it was obvious what their intentions were. I don't know. There were a couple times I'm like, why is a character doing this? And I don't like feeling like that when I'm watching movies, so that, again, held back from my overall experience of this film. Finally, going back to the plot again, I know this review's kind of a little all over the place. Maybe that's me making some sort of statement about the movie being all over the place. I don't know, you can read into that what you will, but the plot, because there's so many different subplots that will like end and then a new one will start, there were a couple times in the movie where I'm like, okay, we're wrapping up this plot, the film's about to end. Like, during that bicycle or motorcycle scene, I thought for sure the film was going to end right there. And then there's a scene where Gary is running down the street. I don't remember when that was. I thought for sure the film was going to end there. And then after they do this whole scene with Bradley Cooper, I thought the film was going to end there. And it just keeps going. And it didn't feel long. Like, I wasn't like, okay, come on, when's this going to end? It was like, okay, things are wrapping up nicely here. Just tie it in a little bow. We're good to go. But then something new would pop in, and something new would pop in, and it just repeated that, and it was something that was a little odd for me, because I thought the film should have ended like 4 times. I do like how they ended it. I think that the ending was well-deserved, and the arc that we went through to get there was great. It's just because of all these subplots that ended and then started again, I felt like several times the movie was ending well before I was about to end. But yeah, that is basically all I have to say about this film. I feel like I said a lot more negatives than I did positives. I do genuinely really like this film. I think it's a fantastic film. I can see it getting nominated to several different festivals for like a Best Picture award. It's just not my personal favorite film of the year because I prefer, like I said, more tightly scripted stuff. But yeah, as I'm getting into the ratings here, this is a really tough one to rate. So I'm just going to give it a flat rating of an 8 out of 10. It's really tough to compare a film like Licorice Pizza to a film like Spider-Man. Like, they're two completely different films. It's like almost an entirely different medium. So I don't really know how I would rank this in terms of 2021 films, but is it the best film of the year? I think quality-wise, no, and in terms of entertainment-wise, also no. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Have you watched this film? Did you think it's the best film of the year? Did you think it was awful? What side of the spectrum do you land on? And so you can let me know that in the comments down below. You can subscribe if you're new around here, like the video if you did like it. And if you want more updates on any of my videos, make sure to follow me on Instagram at @ntd_films. Thank you guys all for watching, and have a good day.